Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have an awesome follow-up for you on the Orient Triton, and which is now featuring a Strapcode Angus Jubilee. Now, the Angus Jubilee bracelet is not anything that's new to the channel. Of course, you saw it originally on my SKX mod, really world famous at this point, and then you saw the Angus Jubilee application again on my Seikos Presage Cocktail Time. The particular model was actually the Snowflake dial model, and now it is available here on the Orient Triton. So although you guys have seen this bracelet many times before, this review is going to be actually touching more on kind of now the value proposition that the Triton has with just the addition of this bracelet. And I think it's pretty insane what this thing now offers, especially with this bracelet on it. I think before it did have a pretty nice value proposition, but now it really takes it to another level, especially when you compare it to something like my SKX mod, which I will actually be pulling in a frame here in a few and doing some side-by-side comparisons to. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so as you can see, this watch was already really quite gorgeous, and the proportions, of course, do make you think a bit of SKX because it is a scaled down version of that saturation diver. But as far as just the bracelet, as you can see, the end links meet really nicely, shaped really quite nice, looks very natural, almost like it could be OEM. And of course, the thicker links do make sense because this is a thicker dive watch. Really nice clasp here. One of my favorites actually from Strapcode that they offer, because it does offer all these different micro adjusts, which really helps you get dialed in for the perfect fit. So really impressive from that standpoint, you know, and they actually did go with kind of extending the end link out a bit versus on the SKX model here that they did, where it actually shortens the case down by having the kind of the female end link versus the male end link. Now, when you take a look at these two watches, you know, it's very similar as far as the dimensions go and the proportions. Of course, the Orient saturation diver is going to be a bit larger and have a little bit more of an expansive dial, but I think they did that because they know they have that power reserve indicator on there. So, and then of course, generally the Orient logo is quite large, so it actually does help the dial have some breathing space. But when you think about this, I mean, it has sapphire crystal, you know, ISO certified diver, all that, you know, and then you also have hacking hand windable movement with a power reserve. All of the time and money that went into this SKX to give it a blue sunburst dial and a hacking and hand windable movement, I mean, you can just basically fast forward past that. And now, because of this outstanding, as you can see, this bezel insert, it even has the bezel insert with this shielded pip, so that's going to keep it from patinaing or getting dirty. Same as you have here, although there are tons of variants out for SKX bezel inserts. One of the reasons I really love the original is because it does have that shielded Lume pip there, which just keeps the Lume nice, clean, and crisp. So, you know, as you can see, of course, similar ticks per second as far as the hertz, because these are both 3 hertz movements, which is going to equal out to 6 ticks per second versus the more standard 8 ticks per second that you'll find in a, you know, more standardized Swiss movement or some of the higher end Japanese movements. So I did want to get these in frame so you guys could get a look at them together there. And I mean, if you guys are a fan of the channel, I'm sure you've seen this video, you know, tons of times featuring this particular model. I love it. I don't wear it probably as much as I should, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's, you know, it's my little one of a kind and means a lot sentimental to the channel. But the nice thing is I can wear this and have very much of the same aesthetic. And one thing you guys are gonna have to tell me in the comments if you buy this model. For me, this particular one, I don't know if maybe it's because I bought an early model, but the center links and the sides actually look like they have a light brush to them versus being high polished, if you guys notice there. See how it's a little bit milkier? And then here, just very much quite reflective. So I don't know if that's like an error from Strapcode. Definitely let me know if you guys have a set and it looks any different. I don't know, maybe I should run this under a sink or something, or polish it up. But yeah, to me it looks like more than just a coating issue. It actually looks like it was lightly brushed. So let's go ahead and get these on the wrist to give you guys an idea of how these drape and kind of fit the wrist, especially with the differences in the end links. All right, now as you can see on my 7¼ inch wrist, this thing wears really nicely. Of course, it is a big, bold, chunky dive watch, but it doesn't, to me, appear hugely oversized or anything like that. I feel like this is really kind of that sweet spot where it looks and wears like a tool watch. And as you can see, as far as the drape goes around my 7¼ inch wrist, I think it wears really quite nicely. I can give it a good shake. It's not going anywhere, and to me those end links don't feel like they're extending out the case lines too much at all, but I think it definitely flows so nicely. Really digging the way that looks. And as you can see, if I compare it here, the way that the other, the female end link style on the SKX kind of gives you an idea, even if you were just shopping against these watches and not necessarily against the bracelets. I'd like to just give you guys kind of a quick idea of how these wear in comparison. Of course the SKX dial is visually smaller and more compact, which does help the watch wear a bit smaller. But when the tail of the tape will tell you that the Orient is a little bit bigger. So even if this watch was a bit bigger at the same proportions, it would of course end up with a larger dial and whatnot. So really nice here. Let me go ahead and get this beauty. It's been a while since it's been in a video, so I'm sure it's enjoying the screen time. Really nicely done. Of course, from the side of this gorgeous Jubilee bracelet. And then of course I do have the Ratcheting Marine Master 300 clasp on there, which there's actually a Pro Saturation Diver ratcheting clasp that I could put on here, but I actually have it on one of my Mako USA mods, where I think it just really suits it there. But if you really wanted to, this is actually set up to accept other clasps as well. So if you wanted to, you could also swap it out and have something that's a bit of a more of a one-to-one as far as kind of the style and the comparison goes. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous, and as you can see, the finishing is very crisp on this Orient Triton case there. Look at that, the transition from that top polishing to that the side polishing and the top brushing is really quite crisp, and really impressive, especially for the money. Then you also do have that beautiful sunray dial, and then you have the fully indexed bezel, which I love and definitely gives it more of a tool look there, and of course is reminiscent of quite a few deep diving watches. So really nice, and also has that much more toothy bezel there, which is something that's going to be more similar to something like the Rolex style versus the coin edge that I switched on to my Seikos mod. That's essentially the perfect modern SKX 009. And actually it's kind of interesting timing to have this because they're coming out with Seiko 5 kind of SKX reissues. Unfortunately, they are only going to be about 100 meters water resistant, and we'll be moving downstream kind of out of the way as far as competition goes against the mini turtle and of course the full-size turtle reissue, which I think is an interesting choice from Seiko's side, but it's definitely going to be a modder's dream to have those back out on the market again, and then sporting for our movements that are going to be hacking and hand winding. So really nice. But back to, the kind of review at hand. Here with the Orient Triton, this thing just offers so much bang per buck. and wears really, really well. Of course, if I didn't have a million blue dial divers, this could easily be, you know, kind of the iconic piece of my collection, and really fulfill that space, because it just has it all, especially when you put it on this bracelet. This thing really can go toe to toe with the competition. You got sapphire, in-house, hacking, hand windable. You also have, of course, that great and you know, quite iconic power reserve indicator there from Orient, signed crown. You know, this is just a good looking piece, and it doesn't look like really, you know, it has its own personality. Closest thing it looks to is one of its cousins in the SKX. It's not like something that you see and, you know, it's trying to look like a Planet Ocean, or trying to look like, you know, a Rolex Submariner or a Blanc Pawn or anything like that. This really has its own DNA, and I think it really pulls it off really nicely. So, of course, the Lume junkie in me is going to want to do some low light transition with the SKX and this bad boy, so you guys can compare the Lume. Alrighty, with that said, let's go ahead and hit the lights. As you can see, these are glowing quite brightly and quite nicely. So apart from the Lume comparison here, we can also get an idea of the way that the dial is going to transition from low light, you know, when you're in and out of a building, in and out of your vehicle. Of course, my hot studio lights do a good job of simulating, you know, direct sunlight, but as far as kind of that natural lighting that you're going to catch, you know, indoors and whatnot, and in transition, this really gives you a good idea of kind of how the finishing plays, and how the dial, especially with the sunray patterning, will actually react to light. So, and then also when you take a look at the case finishing, it does a nice job of kind of highlighting those transitions, and really just giving you an idea of the way the brushing actually has been executed, and kind of to the level of that execution on the brushing, because the hot studio lights actually do, you know, they're very bright, and they kind of do a good job of washing out some of the imperfections every once in a while. So when you catch it in low light, it actually gives you a nice idea of how these will play as far as finishing goes. And you can see here, Strapcode has done a wonderful job. Look at the way the light very nicely rolls right over those beautiful Jubilee style links. Let's actually get a little black light in there so we can get a little bit more action on these, on the Lume, just to give you guys kind of an idea. Really beautiful Lume. Just exactly what you'd expect from a tool watch, a diver, a real iconic piece there. And the nice thing is that, of course, you know, this Orient Triton is just the baby brother of the saturation diver, which has its own street cred. You know, it's kind of Orient's version of the Marine Master in that respects, in that it's kind of that entry level kind of professional diving watch, and then having the Triton is kind of just the baby of that. So they do have a nice lineage tied together, and I think with these really great Strapcode bracelet options, now you're taking it up a notch, and you're kind of fixing the one deficiency with these Japanese watches, where, you know, the bracelet isn't great, at least on sports models. They do have some really nice dress models where the bracelets are pretty sweet, in the Presage line and some of the higher end new Prospects LX models. But as far as this range goes, as you know, the affordability on this piece, that you can buy this Triton for, you know, around $400 or less, and then you can buy this bracelet, you're set. You know, even though you spend $100 on the bracelet, you know, you're still around $500 or less for this piece. This Seiko costed like over $600 to piece together. And if you were to try to get it recreated now, they would charge you even more. So, you know, this thing isn't the best bang per buck for you to have your own, you know, perfectly modified. This is a gem of a watch that I wish I could create now. you know, it's nice and it's quite fulfilling to kind of have something personalized. But if you're just somebody who wants the spec, that wants the aesthetic, that needs the capabilities, you're going to get that easily with the Orient Triton, and then some, because you're going to be getting, you know, some other great attributes that even this Seiko with mods doesn't offer, like that cool power reserve. So, you know, with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do hit like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys. Why did I turn the lights off? Maybe because I love the Lume. Later.